The fluorescent lights of the lab flickered as Dr. Raymond Voss lifted the vial with trembling hands. Years of sleepless nights, failed experiments, and ridicule from his colleagues had led to this single moment. The liquid inside was pale green, almost luminescent, swirling slowly as if it were alive. He had synthesized it from compounds no one else had dared to combine, a formula designed to push human biology beyond its limits. He brought it to his lips, paused for just a second, and drank it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the pain hit him like a freight train. He collapsed against the lab table, knocking over beakers and equipment, his body convulsing violently on the cold floor. His skin began to stretch and shift, veins turning dark beneath the surface, his bones cracking and reshaping themselves. He screamed, but the scream wasn't human. It was something deeper, something that didn't belong in any throat on this planet. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the pain stopped. He rose slowly. He was no longer Raymond Voss. He was something massive, something ancient-looking, with gray-plated skin and eyes that burned like molten copper. He looked at his hands, enormous, powerful, and then he laughed. The laughter echoed through the empty lab and rattled the glass on every shelf.
Finally,
"I did it," he said, his voice layered, like two voices speaking at once. "I finally did it."
I did it!
The first attack came without warning. A city in northern Europe simply went dark overnight. No communication, no survivors found in the initial search. Then another city, then 3 more within a week. Satellite footage showed something moving through urban centers at terrifying speed. Massive non-human figures that tore through military defenses like paper. Dr. Voss had not stayed alone for long. He had found others, exposed them to his formula, and built himself an army. Within 3 months, every government on Earth was either destroyed or in full retreat. The world didn't end with a war, it ended with a collapse. Supply chains broke down, power grids went dark, and the people who survived did so by running and hiding. Governments that still had functioning military units constructed underground shelters, reinforced bunkers cut deep into the earth, shielded from detection.
Move quickly!
Ethan
Get
and
to the
Marcus ended up
bunker
in one
now!
such shelter outside their city, packed in with hundreds of other survivors. It was cold, loud, and desperate, but it was safe. For a while. Voss found them anyway. The shelter walls buckled under the assault, alarms screaming through every corridor. People ran in every direction. Ethan grabbed Marcus by the arm and pulled him toward the emergency exit. But in the chaos, a section of the ceiling gave way, and Marcus was thrown hard against the wall. By the time Ethan fought his way back through the crowd, Marcus was already being dragged away, along with dozens of others, by creatures that moved like soldiers following clean orders. Voss wanted test subjects. He wanted to build more guards, more soldiers, more extensions of himself. And now he had them. Ethan ran. He didn't want to, but he ran because there was nothing else he could do in that moment. He was alone again, more alone than he had ever been in his life. His parents had died years earlier in an accident that had never fully left him. Marcus had been the only thing resembling family that he had left, and now Marcus was gone too. The group of survivors Ethan fell in with was small, maybe 30 people. They moved through back roads and forests, avoiding open ground, living on whatever they could find. Within 2 weeks, the food was gone, and when people are hungry and frightened and have nowhere left to go, they stop being civil very quickly. Arguments turned into fights. Rations were stolen in the night. A man twice Ethan's size cornered him one evening and tried to take his bag. Ethan broke free and ran without thinking, deeper into the trees, until the shouting behind him faded, and there was nothing around him but darkness and the sound of his own breathing. He nearly tripped over the generator before he saw the light. It was coming from inside a cave, a pale, steady glow that had no business being this far from anything. Ethan moved toward it slowly, hand against the rock wall, and stepped inside. The cave was larger than it looked from outside. Cables ran along the walls, connected to a generator humming steadily in the corner. In the center of the space sat a machine, a dense, complex structure of metal panels, wiring, and glass tubes filled with softly glowing liquid. And crouched beside it, completely absorbed in what he was doing, was an old man. He didn't look up when Ethan entered. "Close the entrance behind you," he said. "The cold disrupts the calibration." Ethan stood there for a moment, then did as he was told. The old man was thin,
Close the
with
entrance
white
of the
hair that
cave.
hadn't been cut in months and hands that moved over the machine with practiced precision. Tools were laid out in a neat row beside him. Notes covered every flat surface in the cave. Pages and pages of dense handwriting, diagrams, calculations. "What is this?" Ethan asked.
What is this?
"A time
This
machine," the
is
old
a
man said,
time machine.
as if he were answering a question about the weather. "Or it will be once I solve the stabilization problem." His name was Dr. Walter Hale. He had been a theoretical physicist before the world came apart, and he had been living in this cave for 4 months, working on the only solution he believed was actually possible. The logic was straightforward, he explained. Voss couldn't be defeated in the present. He was too powerful, too deeply established. But there had been a moment, a single window in time, when he was just a man holding a vial. Kill him before he drinks it, and none of this happens. Hale ran the calculations one more time, then sat back and looked at Ethan. "It'll work," he said quietly. "One trip. Enough power for one person to go back and return." Ethan didn't hesitate. "Then it's me." The coordinates Hale had locked in placed Ethan 3 days before Voss drank the formula. Enough time to move carefully, find what he needed, and reach the lab without drawing attention. Found a pawn shop 6 blocks from the lab. The owner barely looked at him. Ethan walked out with a handgun and a box of ammunition and felt the weight of it in his jacket pocket the entire walkover. The lab building was a quiet, unremarkable place. 4 floors, glass front, a security desk in the lobby that he talked his way past by saying he was there to see a professor. He took the stairs. He found the right door. He stood outside it for a moment with his hand flat against the surface, listening. He could hear Voss moving inside. Ethan opened the door. Voss was standing at his workbench with his back turned, the vial already in his hand, already raised.
This will change
He was muttering
everything.
something to himself, something excited and private, the words of a man on the edge of everything he had ever wanted. Ethan raised the gun.
Finally!
"Dr. Voss."
This will mean
Voss
everything!
turned.
No one
He saw the gun. His expression shifted from confusion to something colder, something
you?
calculating. "Who are you?" he said.
Nobody.
"Nobody," Ethan said, and he pulled the trigger. The return was violent, a white flash, a pressure in his chest like the world was compressing around him, and then he was on the cave floor, gasping. The machine sparked once and went dark. Hale was gone. The cave was empty. Outside, through the narrow entrance, he could hear birds. He walked out into morning light. The forest looked the same, but everything else was different. There were no shelters, no survivor camps, no distant smoke on the horizon, just trees and a road through them, and somewhere beyond that, the ordinary sounds of a world going about its business. He followed the road for an hour until he reached the edge of the city. He found the university campus by instinct more than direction. He wasn't sure why he went there. Maybe because it was the last place that had felt like his before everything fell apart. He sat on a bench near the main building and watched students move between classes. Then he saw Marcus. He was crossing the courtyard with a group of people, laughing at something one of them had said. He looked exactly the same. Same jacket, same walk. Ethan stood up without thinking.
Let's see.
Marcus glanced over as he passed, made brief eye contact, and looked away. No recognition, no pause. Just a stranger's glance, and then he was gone, disappearing around the corner with his group. Ethan traveled through time to save him, but the one he saved doesn't even remember his name. If the person you love most forgot you completely, what would you do?